Oh, hello, and welcome to the What's That Movie Season 3 finale. Today, we're going to look back at the films that graced our screens from 2012, and we're going to dissect them with our greatest intelligence. Who am I kidding? We're going to bash them. Welcome to the What's That Movie Year-End Awards. Hello, and welcome to the first annual What's That Movie Year-End Awards. I'm your host, Norman McGuire, and as you can see, I'm running solo on this episode. Now, I can try to sugarcoat everything, why Kaz or Kayla's not here. I could make them look like the good guy, the reasons they're not here. But the real reason they're not here is because they both actually asked for way too much money to appear on today's episode. So they're going to sit out until next season, where we're still negotiating their contracts. So I'm going to be handling this episode. And let's get right into it, shall we? Our first category is the Best Cast Ensemble. Now, there's been so many films this year, there's been a lot of casts that have been involved with them. And your nominees are The Avengers, the cast from Breaking Dawn Part 2, The Amazing Spider-Man, and The Dark Knight Rises. Now, before I continue, let me remind you that you people, you fans, first picked picked the nominees, let me say, and you also decided the winner. So, no one, me, nor Kayla or Kaz, has anything to do with the nominees or the winners. So that's a disclaimer for y'all to know. Now, the winner for the Best Cast Ensemble is none other than The Avengers. Now, The Avengers was one of the most popular movies of 2012, and it definitely deserves this award. I can't speak for my other hosts, Kayla or Kaz, but I must say that they definitely deserve this award. I think Kaz would probably agree with me. Kayla has a different perspective on this probably than me and Kaz would, because, her history with Twilight, it's hard to say if she would have picked Breaking Dawn Part 2, because she actually enjoyed Breaking Dawn Part 2, so it's hard to say if she would have agreed with me and Kaz, or the winners for this matter. But The Avengers won Best Cast Ensemble. So congratulations to The Avengers, Iron Man, the Hulk, Captain America, and Iron Man. Now we go on to one of the worst categories we have. And the first one is the worst couple in a film. Now, there's been some good couples in films, but we have to look at the worst. And there have been definitely a lot of bad couples in films. And we have 4 nominees that you all chose. So here are the nominees for worst couple in a film. Edward and Bella from Breaking Dawn Part 2, Tyler Perry and his drag self, The Three Stooges, or any other combination in Twilight. Now, you all voted, and it's been almost unanimous. There's been a couple votes that went against the actual winners, but the winners are Edward and Bella from Breaking Dawn Part 2. Now, I think, again, I can't speak for my entire, round table here, even though we're at a square table. I'm pretty sure Kayla would agree with that, since she's the biggest Kristen Stewart fan there is. But again, I don't know if that would actually be her sentiment, since she actually liked Breaking Dawn Part 2. I know Kaz would definitely agree with the winner, because he absolutely hates Twilight Saga. For me, I've never seen any of the films, so I can't tell you whether they're a bad couple or not. So I'm not going to disagree with the winners, or I'm not going to disagree with the fact that they may be, or might not be, the worst couple. Next category is the Best Franchise Film. Now, there's a lot of confusement for this category when voting began. The Best Franchise Film category is a category that has a film that is involved with a franchise that there's going to be another film after it. So that's what really confused people. Like, we have a few of them that are the firsts of a franchise, but they qualify because they have a franchise following them, so they obviously qualify. Now the nominees, for Best Franchise Film are as follows: The Hunger Games, Men of Thought 3, Paranormal Activity 4, and The Hobbit. Now you all voted, and this was a very close race, but it came down to the one winner, and that was Paranormal Activity 4. I enjoy Paranormal Activity 4 since I'm a fan of the franchise, but I feel that it was very unnecessary to the actual franchise itself, because even though that had obviously a connection to the previous films, I feel like this film was kind of out of place. I think if they're going for a new trilogy, I think the fourth film would have made perfect sense, because it definitely gives it more legs for a couple more films if they go that route, because there is going to be a fifth film in October, and depending how well that does in the box office, we probably could see a sixth one as well. Kayla and Kaz have two different opinions on this. I'm going to have to do a video or a special edition of What's That Movie, either coming up sooner or later, to get both of their perspectives on the winners. But Kaz doesn't watch horror films, so he probably won't have much of input on this. I think if he had to choose one, and again, Kaz, if you're watching this, I'm sorry if I'm talking for you, which I'm not trying to, but I'm just trying to think like you, which we basically had the same minds. But I think he would have chose The Hobbit for the best franchise film in this category, because I believe he highly enjoyed that film. Again, I haven't seen that film either, or I haven't seen that film, actually, so I can't agree or disagree with him on that. With Kayla, she might have agreed with the winner, and she might have gone with The Hunger Games. Again, I'm not speaking for them, I'm just trying to think like them. And that's what happens when they try to negotiate a highly dollared contract to be on this episode, and that's what they get when we can't reach their wanting price. So it's just me by myself, which is kind of lonely, because we're in a new studio right now. As you may actually won't realize that we're in a new studio, but we are. So it's pretty lonesome, but I'm having a good time. I mean, got my Chardonnay with me. I'm of age, unless you ask for my ID. Anyways, moving on. Our next film is Worst Attempt at a Comedy Film. Now, comedy films are hit and miss with me. I'm a fan of comedy, but there are just far and few in between that have actually been good in my eyes in the past and in 2012. And actually, to be perfectly honest, the nominees of this category, I have not seen any of the films, so I can't really give a full-edged critique on each film. But these were all picked by you watching, so let's get on with the category. The nominees are That's My Boy, starring Adam Sandler; 1,000 Words, starring Eddie Murphy; The Campaign, starring Will Ferrell; and The Dictator, and I actually don't know who stars in The Dictator. So now the winner for worst attempt at a comedy is The Dictator. Kayla has actually seen The Dictator, I believe. I believe she said that in a past episode. No idea if she enjoyed it, don't really remember. Kaz, I guarantee, probably hasn't seen it. Again, I don't want to speak for them, but I'm just trying to be in their mind right now. I have not seen it, but to be perfectly honest, for seeing the previews, I don't want to see it. So I guess I would agree with everybody who voted for The Dictator to be the worst attempt at a comedy. The next category is Best Character. Now, we had a Best Cast Ensemble category, which recognized the best cast in a film, but there's always that one character in a film that really steals the movie, that really outshines everything else in the film. And you all have picked this category just like the rest of them, and the nominees that you all picked are as follows: Bane from The Dark Knight Rises, Ted from Ted, Katniss Everdeen from The Hunger Games, and Iron Man from The Avengers. And I don't think any of the Iron Man films came out this year, so excuse me if I got that wrong. All of these nominees deserve to win, because I've seen all the films that they were in, and they were all fantastic. Some of the best films of the year. And I know this is going to be controversial, because I know a lot of people would choose Bane, and honestly, I would too. But none of us three did the voting or chose the winners. You all did by voting at our official website, paparazziproductions.weebly.com. As you see, there's a link below. Please go visit and look at everything Paparazzi Production has to offer. The winner for Best Character, though, is, well, runner-up, let me say the runner-up was Bane. So I know that might disappoint a lot of people, but that's how the voting went, and the winner for Best Character is none other than Ted. Ted was a big surprise for me this year because, as you heard in the last category, that, comedies I enjoy, but there are just few that I really enjoy, and Ted was actually one of them. Ted was very funny. The character, I think, has a lot of potential to have a lot of films based around. I think maybe a trilogy may be the best, because I think the character, although it's good, can really lose its edge and really lose interest after a while if they don't handle it carefully. So I would agree with Ted winning, even though I thought Bane was going to be the one who's going to win this. I'm not going to talk for my hosts at all, because they probably have two complete different perspectives than I do, which makes this show so much greater. Before we go into the next category, to make sure you don't miss an episode of What's That Movie, please subscribe to us at our YouTube. Too much Chardonnay. Anyways, like I was saying, go subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/whatsthatmovie. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/whatsthatmovie, and also follow us on Twitter at whatsthatmovie. No, twitter.com WTmovie, I believe, _ It's going to be fixed right here. I mean, I've been drinking a lot of Chardonnay, so I don't remember my own name or my own website, so. But those are all our channels. Enough for this shameless plug. Now let's continue with the award, shall we? The next category is the opposite of our previous one. It is for worst character. There are some good characters, but they are just plain out stupid characters, if I can use that word. And these nominees definitely probably fit that bill, but you have to be the judge because you all voted. The nominees for worst character are Albert from Fun Size, Medea, Bella Swan from Breaking Dawn Part 2, and Abraham Lincoln the Vampire Slayer, or Hunter. Who knows what he really is, even though he was a stupid character. I've actually not seen any of the movies that these characters were a part of, so I can't tell you if they're really bad at what they did in the movie, even though I've heard a lot about Bella from Kayla and other people. But the winner that you chose, you all voted by, I think it was a half a margin, I believe, just barely. The winner was Abraham Lincoln the Vampire Slayer. Now, even though I have not seen the movie, I must agree, because Abraham Lincoln the Vampire Slayer must be the stupidest thought that has ever been in horror film history. We're gonna start, I'll probably just do the videos, but we're gonna start a new sub-series here on What's That Movie. Me, Kayla, or Kaz are gonna vent about whatever's on our mind about films, characters, actors, actresses, whatever's going on in the movie industry. And I think I'm going to make the debut edition of where I'm going to talk about using these characters, like Abraham Lincoln the Vampire Slayer, Jack in, not Jack and the Beanstalk, but what was the other one? Hansel and Gretel the Witch Hunters. Those kind of things make them into a horror movie or Hunters or whatever, how stupid that is. That's going to be the first of that sub-series. Our next category is Best Final Franchise Film. Now, the rules or what applies to this category is that these three films that are here, as of right now, as of this taping, are the last of its franchise. So, the three nominees are The Dark Knight Rises, Madagascar 3, and Breaking Dawn Part 2. I've only seen one of these films, and it just happens to be the winner of this category, and the winner is The Dark Knight Rises. The Dark Knight Rises was just an amazing film. I think you have heard all of our Kayla and Kaz's input about The Dark Knight Rises. It's definitely one of our favorite films of the year. So I think we would all agree that Dark Knight Rises is the best film, or best final film in a franchise. So, Madagascar 3, I've never seen the Madagascar stuff or movies. I think it's hard to say if there will be another one, but as of right now, there's nothing in the works. In Breaking Dawn Part 2, they say is the last one. There's been talk about bringing more films into the series, or even making it into a TV series, so that's remained to be seen. The Dark Knight Rises is obviously, I believe Christopher Nolan was the director or producer or something. I believe he's done, which I believe doesn't mean Batman's done, but I believe Christopher Nolan's series is done and complete. So I think The Dark Knight Rises definitely deserves that award win. Now we get into the important awards, the major awards of today's show. And why not start off with Actress of the Year? There have been plenty of great actresses over the last 12 months, and we have, actually not we, you have picked best 4 actresses of the year that you, in your eyes, you think are Actress of the Year. The nominees are Anne Hathaway, Jennifer Lawrence, Sally Field, and Jennifer Aniston. Now, I love every single one of these actresses. If we ever did a endorsed actress episode, which is a possibility for season 4, those 4 would probably be on that list. They're all just amazing actresses, and I love every single one of them. Now, if I had to pick a winner, it would actually be the runner-up in this category, and that was Anne Hathaway. Anne Hathaway, I think, did an amazing job in The Dark Knight Rises, and I know she's getting more recognition for other films she has done. Les Miserables, or whatever that film is, I believe she was in. Could be wrong. But I know there's another film she was a part of this year that she's getting rave reviews for. But I think The Dark Knight Rises was a great role for her as Selena Kyle. And again, I can't say any more good stuff about Anne Hathaway. I think she's going to be around for a long time, so look out for her. But I'm actually pretty pleased about the actual winner, because I'm actually a big fan of this one. And she deserves all the credit she has. She has won an Academy Award, and I believe a Golden Globe as well this past year. Again, comment below if I'm wrong. I could be, I don't know. Anyways, the winner for Actress of the Year is none other than Jennifer Lawrence. The Hunger Games might be one of the popular movies of the year, and I know its sequel, Catching Fire, is definitely very anticipated for the year 2013 or 2014. I'm not positive at this moment. Again, comment if I am wrong on either. If it comes out in 2013 or 2014, let me know, because I could be wrong. But Jennifer Lawrence definitely deserves this. I mean, the reason she's won a Golden Globe, I believe, again, I could be wrong on that, but I do know she won an Academy Award, and obviously they were not for the Hunger Games, but it was for other films. But she is an amazing actress, and she has a lot of potential, definitely, and she's only in her early 20s, I believe. I think she's like 23 or 24, so she has a lot of years left in Hollywood. And I remember her from the Bill Engvall show. It was a sitcom based around the comedian Bill Engvall, and she played Bill's oldest daughter. And she did a good job on that, and just amazing transformation she's made over the last several years that she's been acting. So I'm very pleased for her to win this award, because this is just as important as the Oscars. This is our Oscars, maybe even better than the Oscars, who knows. I might get a lot of heat for that, but I don't care, it's my show. I can say whatever I want and promote this show as good as I want. So, stuff it. Now we recognize the best actresses of the year. Now it's time to acknowledge the worst actress of the year. As you've seen over the last few seasons, we like to bash films, even though we don't really we actually enjoy bashing films, but it's not like we think of films to bash every episode or actors to bash every episode. It just comes around. So, worst actress of the year. The nominees are Elizabeth Olsen, Kristen Stewart, Rihanna, and Jessica Biel. I don't think I should beat around the bush, because the winner is Kristen Stewart. And I wish right now Kayla was here with me, because she would be laughing her ass off right now. She really would. I just imagined. Because she is Kristen Stewart's biggest fan, if you're not aware of that. Again, I've not seen the Twilight Saga, so I can't say she's a good or bad actress, but I'll take my good friend Kayla's word for it that she is not a good actress, so I would agree with that. But the one person that I haven't seen the movie she's in, so I can't critique on how she acted in that film, but the one person that really sticks out in this category was Rihanna. Comment on this video, or go on Facebook, or tweet us, whatever you want to do. Tell us how Rihanna did in Battleship. I have heard she didn't do that well, so maybe she should stick to singing, which she's actually really good at. So let us know how Rihanna is, or was in Battleship, and should she continue in acting as well. The next category is Actor of the Year. This is quite the category right here, because there's 4 amazing actors who all deserve to win this, but only one can, and you voted. You voted for him to be the Actor of the Year, and the nominees are Liam Neeson, Will Smith, Tom Hardy, and Robert Downey Jr. Great actors. I actually like them all in their own way. Liam Neeson's amazing, Will Smith, Tom Hardy, Downey Jr., all great actors, but only one can win, and you chose Tom Hardy to be the Actor of the Year. People talk about how good Tom Hardy did as Bane, and I think he did an incredible job. I think he really just stole the movie in some people's eyes. In my opinion, I think that nod where the better actor or actress goes for Dark Knight Rises would be Anne Hathaway. Nothing taking away from Tom Hardy, because I think he is also a good actor, but I think Anne Hathaway did a fantastic job, and I think if anyone should get the praise for their portrayal of their character in the film, it should be Anne Hathaway. But again, not taking anything away from Tom Hardy, I think he deserves this award. I mean, Bane, when I first heard Bane was going to be the villain of this movie, if you will, I actually kind of laughed, because the only time I've ever seen Bane in a Batman movie was Batman and Robin, and he was Poison Ivy's lackey. So I didn't, again, I'm not familiar with Batman comics, so I don't know how powerful or anything about Bane. So, but watching this film, he was one scary dude, that's for sure, an intimidating dude as that, and I would not want to mess with Bane or Tom Hardy, so congratulations to Tom Hardy on winning Actor of the Year, voted on by you, the fans. We picked on the girls, now it's time to pick on the actresses. It's time for Worst Actor of the Year. The nominees are Will Ferrell, Tyler Perry, Adam Sandler, and Eddie Murphy. You know, I've never really seen any of Tyler Perry's movies, so I can't critique him, but I actually like Eddie Murphy and Adam Sandler. So having them in the category, I can see why, at least Adam Sandler's in there. But again, these were not made by me, Kaz, or Kayla. These were made by you, the fans watching. And you all fans watching voted Will Ferrell as the Worst Actor of the Year. I'm not a big fan of Will Ferrell, so I would tend to agree with you, fans, who voted. Will Ferrell has, I think, I know he has a lot of fans, and I think, and obviously a lot of people think he's funny. I honestly think that he is funny in his own mind. I think I've only seen just a handful of his films, but I did enjoy Elf, and I think a lot of other people would enjoy Elf over any other Will Ferrell movies. So, be that as it may, Will Ferrell is the Worst Actor of the Year, according to you, the fans watching. Now it's time for our top 2 categories of the day. And let's start off with Worst Film of the Year. There's been several horrible films this year. And actually, a lot of them that you have chosen, actually no, only half of them, were horror films. One was actually on this table right now, and the other was a film I actually mentioned just a moment ago. I always try to look at the good in films. I really do. And as you've seen over the years that I've been on this very program, that I try to dictate, or I don't want to say dictate, that's a bad word for it, but I try to break down films for ways for people to understand why they did what they did and why it was as good or as bad as it was. But these films, can't really explain that for, and I actually tend to agree with everyone who created this category, because the films in there, I think, deserve to be in there. Now, the nominees are The Devil Inside, Breaking Dawn Part 2, Cabin in the Woods, and Battleship. Now, you might be wondering why Breaking Dawn Part 2 is in several categories that were the best film, or let me try to find one of the best cast ensemble and stuff like that, and they're all done in work. It's just, you guys voted that way. There's some good stuff about the movie and some bad stuff, and it just happens to be up for worst film of the year. I didn't do anything about it. But for all you Breaking Dawn Part 2 fans watching, Breaking Dawn Part 2 did not win this award, so you can all sleep tonight. Actually, the worst film of the year was The Devil Inside. Now, The Devil Inside had a very, very well done story. I think it had a lot of potential. It's just, I think the one thing that actually killed the movie, or hurt it, I should say, was that it was in found footage. Ever since Paranormal Activity started back in 2009-ish, I believe, there's been so many horror movies that are found footage, and it's really unnecessary for films to be in found footage these days. And I think that's what really hurt the movie. In the ending, I mean, people have called this ending to The Devil Inside as the worst ending in history. I don't think they said in history, but it's one of the worst endings for a film in a long, long time. It probably in the top 10, I don't know. But I have heard from many people, many sources, many critics, that it was the worst film ending and worst film probably of the year. Actually, when we sent out on Facebook to give us categories, or nominees, excuse me, for each category, overwhelmingly people told us Devil Inside, Devil Inside. And they apparently got enough votes for it to be not only nominated, but enough of you voted for it to be the worst film of the year. A close second was Cabin in the Woods. Cabin in the Woods, which is right there. Again, Cabin in the Woods is a basic premise at first, but it kind of turns totally insane. I mean, the comedy is fantastic in this movie, and I'm actually surprised that a lot of people, a lot of critics gave this a positive review. Not saying it's completely horrible or anything. I think a lot of people would enjoy it in some slight, but the comedy is fantastic, like I said, but I wouldn't really categorize this as a horror film. I believe it would be more of a, not even a parody, but just a comedy, fantasy, thriller movie, I don't know. Because there are hints of horror film, fantasy, comedy all in it. So it's a very odd movie, and it depends who the viewer is watching it. And I remember watching it that I enjoyed the movie, but nowhere near the greatest film I've ever seen. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody unless, you're curious to see what it's all about. So, and that's very surprising that it got positive reviews from critics. Breaking Dawn Part 2 I have not seen, so I'm going to take actually Kayla's word for it, because she said Breaking Dawn Part 2 was the better one of the series, so I will take her word for it, saying it was a pretty decent film. And Battleship I haven't seen, but I think it's kind of ridiculous that they made a film out of a board game, which gives me an idea that I think Paparazzi Productions' next short film should probably be about the game of life. That would be really entertaining, or Monopoly, who knows. Look out for that. Again, go to paparazziproductions.weebly.com to find out more information, or like us on Facebook at facebook.com/paparazziproductions1, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/paparazziprod. All our links are either on the screen or in the box below. Now let's take a break from our categories, and there's actually 2 categories that we are allowed to make ourselves. Now, obviously, Kaz and Kayla are not here, so look out for a later date of getting their opinions on these categories. One is, what should have a sequel? The films that we feel should have a sequel. I have 3, actually. One is The Avengers. If you have not seen The Avengers, I believe this is it. Yes, it is. If you have not seen The Avengers, it is a very good film. Was it nominated? Is it nominated? Yes, it is. Yeah. We'll get there. But it's a very fantastic film. It won Best Cast Ensemble, obviously, so it has a great cast. They all do a fantastic job, and as you've heard over the past season, I believe I've been talking about it, I am not the biggest fan of superhero films, but I feel this was a fantastic film. I think anyone that likes superhero films, like comic books, would be very pleased with this. And I think there should be a sequel, which I believe they are producing one, or at least in the process of writing one. And I definitely want to see The Avengers Part 2. I think there's a lot of money in a franchise of The Avengers. I mean, they all have their own separate films, so they have their own, franchises, but I think The Avengers, there's a lot of money in that. The Hunger Games, which is obviously going to have Catching Fire coming out in the next year or 2. I've not read the book, so I don't know what any of the books are related. I believe Catching Fire is related to the first film, so that's what I like about sequels or franchises, that they're all intertwined. Because if they're not intertwined, they're not a franchise or anything. They're just part of a franchise. They're not intertwined. They're not really anything to do with the other. The last one is The Dark Knight Rises. Obviously, like I said earlier, Christopher Nolan will not be making another Batman film, so that still leaves the door open for a Batman movie. I don't think we've seen the last of Batman in movies. Obviously, it's a brand that a lot of people still like and still pay money to see, so I think that it would be smart to keep going with the Batman series. I don't know how. I'm not a comic book fanatic. If Kaz was here, I would ask him how, to continue the Batman series. Because obviously there's plenty of villains that Batman has had in his comic books that could definitely fill up a movie. Now, what shouldn't have a sequel, but is anyways. Now, I have 2 here. One is actually having a sequel, and one hasn't officially been announced, but there's been talks that there's going to be either more films or turn into a TV series. My first one is Paranormal Activity 4. Now, I am a fan of Paranormal Activity, the franchise, but they just need to stop. It's just the best way I can put it is they need to stop. If they keep going to 5, 6, who knows how far you can go with it. I think people are kind of tired of it already, so I think either the 5th, if they do, obviously they are doing a 5th one, but their 5th one needs to do something amazing to keep people interested, because if they go to a 6th, I don't think the 6th is going to please them very much. And the last one on this, for me, would be Twilight. Again, it's not been announced that there's going to be a sequel or anything else in the Twilight saga, but there has been talks, and there has been talks about doing more films and putting into some kind of TV series. I'm not a Twilight fan, so I don't know who or what could keep that franchise alive. Now it's time for Film of the Year. The nominees are Lincoln, The Hunger Games, The Avengers, and The Dark Knight Rises. 4 good films. I've not seen Lincoln. That's the only one I've not seen in this category, but I hear it's amazing. And actually, I am pretty intrigued to see that film, especially with Sally Field a part of it. I believe Anne Hathaway might be involved with that, I believe. I'm not positive. Again, comment below, because I've been drinking way too much Chardonnay, so it's hard for me to remember who's in what movie. Anyways, all of them deserve this nod, this win. but only one can win, and you voted, and this is quite the film, and I would tend to agree. And the winner for Film of the Year is The Dark Knight Rises. The Dark Knight Rises was the most talked about film, the most, I think, anticipated film of the year, at least in my opinion. I don't think any film had a lot of intrigue going into it. Maybe the Avengers or Breaking Dawn series, who knows, you be the judge on that. But in my opinion, I think The Dark Knight Rises definitely was the anticipated film of the year. Definitely deserves this award. It just had an amazing cast, amazing story, an amazing way to end the Christopher Nolan trilogy. You're the judge whether it's the best of the trilogy. I've not seen the first one. I've only seen parts of it. But it's hard to say if it's better than the first, or better than the first. Excuse me, too much Chardonnay makes me burp. The Dark Knight, I think, the first Dark Knight, I should say, is always going to be the more favored one of between the two. But I think The Dark Knight Rises holds its own, because a lot of people figured without Heath Ledger that this film would not be as good as it was, and I think it surpassed. Now, it didn't surpass the first one, but it did surpass everyone's expectations for it, and it definitely was a great film. And it's, one of the best of all time, definitely one of the best of the year, and it definitely deserves this award. Now, again, as you obviously can see throughout this episode, I am all alone for the very first time ever. This is the first time ever in the 3-year history that What's That Movie has one host. It's always been 2 or 3. And today I'm by myself. But, they all had to try to get more money out of this when we have not that big of a budget. Because with Kaylee here, we were going to have her own award called the Kristen Stewart Honor Award, which recognized the most overrated person, film, character, anything to do with film award. Obviously she's not here, but when I get her comments on all these categories and winners, I'm sure I will get her Kristen Stewart Honor Award. For Kaz, he doesn't have a special award because he's not special. I love you, Kaz, you know that. But again, that's today's show, and this was not only the year-end awards, this was also our season 3 finale. Now, in all seriousness, got some What's That Movie news for you. Breaking news, I should say. As you all are aware, our co-host, our lovely and talented co-host, Kayla Marie Albert, is with child, and as the time at this taping, she is, I believe, three and a half weeks pregnant, maybe. I don't know, she's due on April 7th. So, with her becoming a mother, she's obviously, her duties here at What's That Movie are going to be kind of tied up. And Kaz, obviously, is in college, so his timing, or his availability is kind of thin as well. So, as of right now, we are coming back for a 4th season, so that's very, very, very exciting. But we are definitely going to go on a definite hiatus for What's That Movie. I mean, like I said, we're going to have a new sub-series just to be like a venting kind of thing. So that's still going to be around, but for What's That Movie episodes, there's going to be an extended hiatus. As of right now, we don't know when we will be back to premiere the 4th season, but as of right now, I have talked to both Kaz and Kayla, and they have shown interest of coming back for a 4th season. So 4 seasons in the works. It's just we are unsure when we're going to able to start production on that. But that's today's show. I hope you enjoyed not only this show. I hope your movies won, and if they didn't, let us know. Tell us what movies should have won or shouldn't have won. Comment on this video or comment on our Facebook page. Again, all of our info, I don't feel like, I'm a little buzzed from my Chardonnay, so I'm not gonna say all of our websites again. Just go click on the box that says show more, or just the arrow, I don't know what it is anymore. You click it, and it has all of our information. It has the What's That Movie information, Paparazzi Productions information, Kaz, Kayla, and my personal information as well, our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter accounts. But right now I will plug our website, paparazziproductions.weebly.com. That has everything to do with Paparazzi Production. It has its very own page for What's That Movie. When you go to the home page, you'll see What's That Movie button. Click on that, it'll bring you right to the What's That Movie page. But also has our music video page, our short films page. It has a bunch of great stuff on there, so go check it out. Make sure to keep up to date of when Season 4 will begin, and we'll definitely let you all know on that. So, for Kaz Chow and Kayla Marie Albert, her daughter Ari, and myself, Norman McGuire, this has been the What's That Movie Year-End Awards. I hope you enjoyed this season. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in Season 4.